We are just over halfway through 2025, finally heading out of the summer movie season into awards season with the Venice, Telluride, and Toronto film festivals. Alongside this, we have big blockbusters and smaller studio films from Predator Badlands to Wicked 2, Avatar Fire and Ash to One Battle After Another. 2025 still has a lot left to offer, so today I want to talk about my most anticipated films for the rest of 2025. I will be back in Toronto for TIFF this year, catching a lot of the fall festival movies, but this list won't include every single small and big movie at the festival I'm excited for. These are just the headliners at all of the fall festivals, plus some regular releases. For starters, Weapons actually comes out in just about a week here. I have seen none of the marketing, absolutely stayed away from all of it somehow, some way. I've heard this movie is absolutely amazing. I'm so excited to see Julia Garner, Aaron Eckhart, and Josh Brolin in this. Again, I know nothing about it, and I've heard amazing things. That sounds like a recipe for success, but we'll see. I hope to do a full review on the channel. I'm not seeing it early by any means, but I still feel like I'm going to have a lot to talk about with that. And then we have Tron Ares. My only red flag about this film is the fact that Jared Leto is going to be in it. This isn't in any particular order by any means, but I will say I am very, very excited for this one. Every single trailer has just blown me away on a spectacle level. I've been really interested to see what Disney does with the Tron IP after Tron Legacy, which I saw when I was obviously like pretty little. I think I was like 11 or 12 when the film came out, but I enjoyed it for the most part. I'm glad that this time around they're not necessarily trying to connect a story with older characters. This feels like its own individual world expanding type of thing. The trailers look magnificent. I've seen them in IMAX, 4DX, Dolby, regular. I've seen the trailer a million times, or at least the teaser trailer, and I am so excited for it. And then we have Avatar Fire and Ash. If this was a ranking, this would probably be number one. James Cameron pretty much always delivers. I'm not like the deepest and ball knower of his entire filmography, but I'm very excited for this one. That first trailer had a Fantastic Four. Obviously, it blew me away. I think it blew everyone away. The 3D looks magnificent. I saw the trailer for the first time in 3D 4DX. Got to see it a second time in IMAX. I absolutely love what James Cameron does with the world of Pandora. I'm not super knowledgeable on like every single little tribe and every single little character, but I have my predictions of who I think will die and who will stay alive. If you guys would like to see a review on Avatar Way of Water when it re-releases in October, I would love to do that because I've actually been thinking about doing a re-release / re-review of the first two films of the franchise leading into the third one. Anyways, I think the story is really what's going to be the core factor here because the first film isn't my favorite in my opinion, just in terms of it is very, very basic. And then you move to the second film, which to me feels less reliant on a story. It's more so story based on the first film and just obviously rivalries and stuff like that. But I think it's more focused on just being a phenomenal adventure film, kind of what like Zelda is for video games, where the open world is great, but it's more so just about adventuring and exploring. I don't know if that was a crazy comparison to make, but yeah, I think this time we really get to dive into a story, a tribal rivalry, and seeing fire versus water. That is like the coolest thing ever. I am so excited for this. I'm also really excited for Predator Badlands. I don't know much about the Predator world. I haven't seen any of the actual Predator films, but I've seen a couple of the Alien movies, and from some of the marketing and stuff that I've seen from behind the scenes of this film, there is a lot like story connection. It is kind of leading up to a Alien Predator movie again. The main reason I am excited for this film though is all of the recent Predator media that I've consumed has been absolutely phenomenal. You have Prey, which I absolutely loved. I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago. That was a really great contained story that didn't rely on anything too grand or big outside of that one story it was trying to tell. And then they had Predator Killer of Killers, and that came out on Hulu as an animated series directed by the same guy did Badlands, and I think he also directed Prey as well. I absolutely love both of those projects, and the way, and I won't get into spoilers for Killer of Killers because I know a lot of people haven't seen it, and the way that film ends and the way that it kind of sets up a Prey storyline that could lead into Predator Badlands, that could kind of bring us to a culmination event for Predator. I think that's so interesting. I'm not saying everything needs to be a connected universe, but they did it in a really interesting way to where I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to see where this ends. And I'm really excited for Dan Trachtenberg to get a theatrical live action Predator film under his belt and where we would go from here in terms of the franchise expanding. One Battle After Another is a film I'm really interested in, but I don't really know how much I'm going to love it. I think I've seen maybe one PTA film, and I know that might be heinous to some people. I really need to get working before this film comes out in like literally a month or two. But the trailers have really won me over. I thought the first trailer was just really stupid and goofy, but that's kind of why I liked it. I saw it in IMAX one time, and that really changed my whole perception of how the film kind of felt to me. The story is the main thing I'm really worried about, because from the trailer it looks like it's going to be pretty messy, but I'm still kind of excited for that aspect of it. Final non-festival movie is Wicked for Good. I'm going to keep it simple here. I haven't really seen the first trailer, but I really enjoyed the first film much more than I expected, and I'm just interested to see where this story goes from here, because I know nothing about Wicked lore, but it feels like, from what everyone is talking about, the second film just rapidly expands in terms of scale and scope and size, and so why wouldn't I be seated if I like the first one? Okay, let's get to the fall festival films now. I have a list of a couple of them here. Again, I cannot get to everything, but there are a lot of smaller films from just directors like Chloe Zhao, and then directorial debuts like Scarlett Johansson, Brian Cox. The list goes on and on. There are going to be so many films, and if you guys want me to do a full most anticipated or what I want to watch at TIFF video, let me know in the comments down below, because I could make a whole video on that. We're still about a month and a half, 2 months out from the festival. Some of these films are world premieres. Some of them will be premiering at Venice or Telluride, and there's a couple at the end here that I'm just hoping that come to TIFF after Venice and Telluride, but we'll get there. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein is probably my second most anticipated movie left this year, right behind Avatar, Fire and Ash. I not only am very excited just because it is Guillermo del Toro and I loved all of his recent stuff, and the fact that we are getting like a true adaptation of it. I know we're supposed to get Bride, which is like Frankenstein's Bride with Christian Bale and Maggie Gyllenhaal. I am very interested in that film. I think that got pushed to 2026, but this feels like it's going to be a true adaptation of that entire novel. My most anticipated aspect of this film is obviously Oscar Isaac's performance, but I also think just generally the way that they've been promoting this film is based in a lot of the sets and the experience of being put into this world, which is one of the most interesting things in my opinion. But yeah, Frankenstein, I will be at that world premiere. Do not get it twisted. I'm so fucking excited for that movie. The Smashing Machine is probably also in the direct like top 5 to 3 films I'm most anticipated for the rest of this year. I saw the trailer for the first time ahead of watching Sorry Baby, and it feels like Uncut Gems meets Iron Claw, which are like 2 of my favorite movies in the last 10 years. So I think this has potential to be absolutely amazing. Obviously, you have Emily Blunt and Dwayne The Rock Johnson in this. Dwayne The Rock Johnson is really working on, he's cooking something up, because apparently he's also in Martin Scorsese's next film. This one is directed by Betty Safdie. I'm very interested to see how this obviously stacks up against Marty Supreme, directed by the other Safdie brother, Josh Safdie, which we'll get to in a second, because I'm also very excited for that one. And then A Sacrifice, directed by Romain Gavras, which I haven't heard anything about this movie until it was put on the TIFF schedule, and I am very intrigued by it. I wouldn't say this beats out any of my non-festival movies by any means, but just the TIFF description alone has me very excited. They haven't really given us like a plot or a storyline, but just the cast alone, you know, Chris Evans' recent resume, I'm very, very interested in this movie. I don't know, this one's just kind of calling to me. I hope I'm not disappointed because I'm so interested in it, but yeah, I will be there. Sentimental Value is one that just obviously had a lot of hype coming out of Cannes. It won the second place award. I think it's called the Grand Prix, directed by Joachim Trier. I am so interested in this film. I don't really know much about it, but I am genuinely just intrigued by all of the Palme d'Or placers. I like movies about movies, and from what I know, this is about a director and something about bringing his family together. I don't really know much about the story, but I think that's the fun of it. It's just a lot of pieces coming together to make this one interesting for me. And the Palme d'Or winner of this year's Cannes was It Was Just an Accident. Neon picked this film up. I don't really have any specific reason to be excited for this, but I just am. I think Palme d'Or winner, you know, Anora won it last year. Anora was one of my favorite films of last year. So it's kind of just how it goes. Very interested to see how this one turns out. And the final TIFF film, Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. I don't want to go through every single member of this cast and rehash everything everyone knows about Knives Out, but it just feels like this one will be a little bit different from the first 2, and that's kind of exactly what I needed. From the teaser alone, I think it has a slightly different visual style. It feels like it's not necessarily going for that same like fuck the rich commentary, which I like that they're finally shifting away from that, especially if you want to make more than 3 of these films. You kind of have to switch it up after a certain point. And also, obviously, the cast is going to be amazing. Standouts for me, Josh O'Connor, Josh Brolin, Andrew Scott, but most of all, Kaylee Spaeny is one of my favorite working actors right now. And then, obviously, Daniel Craig is Benoit Blanc. I think this is going to be such a fun time. I'm genuinely so excited to watch this with like a super lively, large crowd. Wrapping it up with some in-between films. These are kind of films that haven't been announced for the fall festivals just yet. Obviously, they didn't play at Cannes, and they're kind of like December, late November releases, so we don't necessarily know if they're even gonna get a festival release. So firstly is obviously Marty Supreme. If I'm not mistaken, this one does come out in December, and the Timothée Chalamet December movies usually do well even if they don't play at festivals. A Complete Unknown didn't have a festival run at all whatsoever, and that movie obviously got great awards buzz. If they're kind of aiming for the same thing, which it seems that they are, I don't think A24 is really going to push for a festival run for this film. I'm not the biggest ball knower in terms of what's going on and why they would or wouldn't decide to put things in festivals. I just go to the one festival, watch the stuff, and talk about Oscars. In terms of best actor, I think it would probably lean towards Timothée Chalamet more, but obviously surprise nomination would be Dwayne Johnson. In terms of overall film, my prediction is that The Smashing Machine will be better, but we also have no marketing to go off of for Marty Supreme. We don't know the vibe, we don't know the tone, we don't know what dumbass accent Timothée Chalamet might be doing that makes the movie the coolest thing ever. So I don't think we can compare the two too much just yet, but I really do hope this goes to fall festivals. I doubt it though. The new Yorgos Lanthimos film Bugonia does look interesting to me. It has Jesse Plemons, Emma Stone. It doesn't look as genuinely insane as Kinds of Kindness, but it does look like we could be seeing something similar to an awards push like Poor Things had. They are saying this one might go to Telluride and then squeeze into TIFF. I'm not super hopeful, but I would love to see it, obviously. The synopsis for this one sounds a little more Ari Aster than anything else. It says, 2 conspiracy-obsessed young men kidnap the high-power CEO of a major company, convinced that she is an alien intent on destroying the planet. That sounds cool. I'm kind of there. And the final movie I want to talk about is Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. I'm really only excited for this movie because it's Jeremy Allen White as Bruce Springsteen, but I know nothing about Bruce Springsteen. I didn't listen to his music, and I saw A Complete Unknown last year. I didn't know anything about Bob Dylan, never listened to any of his music. It's not that I cared so much about Bob Dylan after the fact, but it's just the fact that Timothée Chalamet was able to transform into that character so well that it made the movie really, really interesting. I've seen the first trailer for this film, and I think that Jeremy Allen White is doing a phenomenal job. I don't know if he's emulating this real-life person properly or not, but from what I can tell, it works in the story. The voice is really, really great. The entire film's production seems very convincing of the time. I'm very, very interested in this film. Again, don't think it'll go to fall festivals by any means, but I do have hope that it'll maybe squeeze into Telluride, maybe come to TIFF, who knows. But that wraps up my most anticipated films for the rest of the year. I know this was a lot of movies. There's still a lot of movies left. If you guys enjoyed this more laid back, just talking, not really ranking, and kind of just going through films, topics, ideas, and news, let me know by dropping a comment down below, because this is a different video than anything I've done before. But yeah, that wraps up all of my thoughts. Let me know your most anticipated films for the rest of the year in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.